the MX5 race a little bit earlier, you know, you've got these rather short runs here at WeatherTech Raceway, and they're coming off of fairly fast corners. So, you know, even though you may be able to stay close in the draft, it's sometimes somewhat difficult to affect the pass. I mean, your best chances are, as we saw a couple of attempts in that MX5 race, trying to stick your nose underneath going into the corkscrew here, and then obviously hard under braking going into the final corner, turn 11, onto the front straight, one of those traditional 90-degree hard braking corners. But we may see something much closer to our first race of the evening than what we saw last week in Spec Racer Ford.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Greg. I mean, passing is going to be at a premium. You know, last week we had the longer straightaways in certain parts of that track, and as you alluded to earlier on, you know, you look at the brown stuff, that's dirt, that's sand. It gets out on the racetrack. It's going to make these things a little bit slippery. These cars are a little bit lighter than the MX5 Cups. So again, it's going to be where you're going to have to get out in front, and then you're going to have to stay out in front, and then you're going to have to try to work your way through ever so slightly to make those passes. It's going to be how quick you can get up and off the corners.
That's right. All right. So we've got now just about 2 minutes remaining here in the 15-minute qualifying session. And just to remind everybody, if you're joining us here for the first time, or if you're a long-time iRacing aficionado, there were some changes made to the Spec Racer Ford platform in iRacing in the middle of the spring, I guess right around end of May, beginning of June. And for years, the Spec Racer Ford platform in iRacing had been based off of what was known as the Gen 2 car, using a 1.9-liter Ford Escort motor, using a 5-speed H-pattern gearbox. And come June, what we saw a very huge change in the specs to these cars. They now pick up what is known as the Gen 3 spec. That is a smaller 1.6-liter motor, but it's an all-aluminum motor out of a Ford Focus, and much, much lighter on the rear of the car. Larger brakes at the front. The other big change, and this is something that actually is not in use in real life yet, is going to be made legal come the beginning of October, is that these cars are employing a 6-speed SADEV sequential transmission, while the cars in real life are still using those 5-speed H-pattern boxes. So a little bit of a difference there. The other big change is the tires have been updated so that they are much closer to the tires that the cars use in real life, which, although they're still marked as Goodyear here in iRacing, the real-life cars actually use Hoosier, Spec Hoosier tires. The original Spec Racer Ford was modeled, their tire model was based on the early 2000s Goodyear tires that were on the cars, and there is a huge, huge difference. In speaking to some real-life Spec Racer Ford drivers, they say that the way it's represented now in iRacing is very, very close to what it is in real life, whereas many of the Spec Racer Ford drivers, they kind of moved away from iRacing because there was such a disconnect between the real-life car and the virtual car.
And I tell you what, Greg, those transmissions, going to those CDIV transmissions, we've actually seen a couple of those. I know I've seen a couple of those up close, and it's just a lot smoother, you know, shifting points that you need to get to in some of these racetracks that they go to.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't spend all that time clutching in where the drive line is disconnected, and it allows you to keep the power on with these cars. All right, so for those of you that are watching maybe more closely than Brian and I, qualifying is now over. We've run up against that 15-minute clock, and wow, we still have some drivers trying to set some fast laps right now. We've got Wanshi Lin in the Revolution Sim Racing machine. I think this is the first time we've seen Wanshi here racing with us, and unfortunately he was in the tire wall on the outside of the corkscrew. But as we run down things here right now, looks like, and we're going to run down the starting grid in just a moment, Jamison Huffman, your pole sitter, Morgan Burkhardt, his teammate, starting right beside him. And then we've got Justin Huffman, that's Jamison's dad, and a Formula car racer in real life, starting third with Paul Silvanic in the 528 car, who we just saw go down the pit lane. starting fourth. So let's go. We'll bring up the starting grid. Brian, I'll grab this one here as these drivers are going to be going out and heading out for their pace lap here in just a moment, as you get some great views of WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca and that view of the Andretti hairpin. So let's go. We'll run down the starting grid. Or we won't. Actually, it looks like it's going to be just another few. Yeah, it's going to be another few seconds here before iRacing has the grid together. I can start running it down, and I know it, you don't, but we'll have that ready for you in just a second here for what is going to be a 20-minute sprint. This is going to be the second of 6 events for our Spec Racer Fords here on the Ray Esports Racing League. And here we go. Here is our starting grid. On the pole, driving the number 89 machine with a fast lap of a 1:34.566. He was our winner a week ago at Watkins Glen. It's Jamison Huffman. Morgan Burkhardt, who finished second last week, will start right beside him on the outside of row number 1. Then we've got Justin Huffman starting third on the inside of row number 2 with Paul Slavonic in the number 528 car. He finished third last week. He's going to start fourth tonight. John Vogel makes up the inside of row number 3 with Wan Shi Lin right beside him. And the number 30 machine, Beans Forster, looking for a little redemption after race 1 in the number 231 car. He starts on the inside of row number 4. Murphy Nichols in the SBS Racing machine will start right next to him, starting in 8th. Greg Mack in the number 9 Esport Racer machine, probably the number 2 Esport Racer machine, will start in 9th. Brennan Horan, his teammate in the number 45 machine, he will start 10th. Jordy Fike, another Team Esport Racer driver, had that great run in the Mazda MX-5s. He will start on the inside of row number 6 with Charles Vaccaro starting right next to him in 12th. Now, if we move over to 13th position, the inside of row number 7, Giancarlo Schooler trying to get that hard charger award 2 races in a row. He's going to start right next to the number 73 of Wayne Buttermore. Then in row number 8, John Casey will run the number 78 car with Joaquin Effinger in the number 700 right beside him. And no, we did not invert the field. We'll have to see if he comes out, but we'll see if Reed Shannabrook in the number 14 car, high off of his win in the Mazda MX-5 race, if he comes out for the Spec Racer Ford race, we'll look for the green machine, but I don't see him on track, Brian. So it looks like Shannabrook taking the rest of the evening off.
It looks like he's celebrating that win in that MX-5 Cup that he did. Again, jumped out to a really great start and had to hold off the 2 youngsters there.
All right, so the pace car now has the field, bringing Huffman and Burkhardt up, and looking very similar to what we saw at the start of the last race. Of course, we had Murphy Nichols running on the front row of the Mazda MX-5 race. He is starting a couple rows back from there. We'll see if Murphy can bring his car home to the checkered flag after an early exit in the Mazda MX-5s. But the driver we're going to have to watch for, it is that orange and black number 223 machine of Justin Huffman. He's actually got some experience here, although he's based, like his son, based out of Washington, D.C. He does have experience here at Laguna Seca in real life, and certainly a driver to look out for. I think for me, Brian, we'll want to watch Wan Shi Lin, who qualified in I believe 5th position out of China, to see how he does. Again, this is his first outing with us here on the Ray Esports Racing League.
Yeah, it looks like he did really well during qualifying there, and again had that little blip there towards the end. But it looks like he's back up. It looks like we're getting ready to go green flag racing here.
There you go. Pace car is on pit lane. The number 89 machine of Jamison Huffman brings the field around the final corner through turn 11 onto the front straight, and green flag is in the air. Let's see if Burkhardt gets a little bit better start than he did last time, and he's already gotten a little bit of a push, but look at this. It's Huffman and Huffman, son Jamison, father Justin, as they are side by side going into the Andretti hairpin, but Morgan Burkhardt, he manages to get around Justin Huffman and trying to take the very long way around the 528 machine of Paul Slavonic. He slots in the 4th position with John Vogel going side by side. Oh, and look at this.
Look, we got
the 528 machine It goes around Paul Slavonic. He's now going to drop all the way to the back of the field. He gets back underway there. Murphy Nichols in the number 5 car. He goes around as well. And I said we wanted to see him finish this race. He is now already on the pit lane in the number 5 as we jump back over to our leaders, the 2 teammates, Jamison Huffman, Morgan Burkhardt, as they start to make their run up the hill towards towards the corkscrew. Let's go and take a look at a replay of that start.
It looks like maybe a little contact there earlier on, but then it just looks like the 528 there. Paul Slavonic just gets a little bit loose heading through that, and then everybody else just stacks up behind there.
Yeah, collects Murphy Nichols as the rear end stepped out on him and gets T-boned by a couple cars following through out of turn 3 that just did not have anywhere to go.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of those cars that were involved in that as well now starting to come back up through the rear, starting to collect everything. But Jamison Huffman, Morgan Burkhardt, as they start to head off down through there, they're starting to pull away from Justin Huffman. So Justin Huffman looked like he had a little bit of an issue possibly going in through turns 4 and up through turn 5. And by the time they got to the Rahal Straight, it was Jamison and Morgan Burkhardt is starting to pull away a little bit from the father of Justin Huffman.
Here we go as we watch the number 45 machine. That is Brendan Horn, a Team Esport Racer, along with teammate Greg Mack, starting a little bit further back in the field, trying to work their way through. Didn't mention it on the pace lap. And we have a car that's just now gone around at the Andretti hairpin. I believe that may have been John. Actually, that was, I think, Wan Chi Lin that may have gone by. No, let's take a look at that. It is the 78 machine of John Casey, and so he now drops towards the back of the field and tries to continue on, but he is a long way back here as we follow on board with the number 89 of Jamison Huffman and Morgan Burkhardt. They start to make their way up the hill towards the corkscrew. Now, this race is brought to you by our new sponsor here for season 2, and that is Alliance Autosport. Alliance Autosport, they're based in Columbus, Ohio, and they have found success both at the club and professional levels, garnering multiple championships, including 7 Sports Car Club of America National Championships, 3 SCCA Pro Racing Championships, and a USF 2000 National Class Championship. Alliance Autosport's team members are dedicated, hardworking, and know what it takes to win. And not only are they the SCCA Enterprises Great Lakes Division customer service rep for Spec Racer 4 Gen 3 and Formula Enterprises 2, but the team services include arrive and drive packages for Spec Racer 4 Gen 3, FE2, and also Trans Am 2, spanning customer car prep, trackside support, transportation, storage, part sales, data analysis, hospitality, as well as driver coaching and development. To join Alliance Autosport on the winning track, check them out at allianceautosport.com. And, I wish that spot was about 30 seconds shorter, Brian, because it looks like we've got some big changes at the front of the field. Yeah,
we did. Coming through turn 11, Morgan Burkhardt gets really loose down there and ends up spinning out right in front of John Vogel and Justin Huffman as they start to go around. Then it looks like he may have had some contact there with Brennan Huron as it looks like he was trying to get go. It does look like he's back underway now, but that is just major changes to this. Jamison Huffman opening up about a 3-second lead over the 4 of John Vogel and Justin Huffman. But Justin Huffman and Wan Chi Lin, they're starting to stay nose to tail there, and they look like they may end up catching up to John Vogel here momentarily.
Yeah, as long as they can, as long as they don't fight one another, they should be able to make their way up into that battle. For a second, we were looking at the tail end of that replay. It looked like Brennan Horn basically just had the rear end of the car step out on him through the Andretti hairpin, and he gets back underway as well. Now we see Wayne Buttermore in the number 73 machine. He goes off at the corkscrew. You can see there lots of damage in the left rear of that car as he impacted the tire wall coming down the hill. Let's take a look here. I think we got a replay lining up. He's back right behind Brennan Horn, and then he had the let's see, another very damaged car right behind there. There you go. Buttermore actually had a lot of that damage, just spun out at the entrance to the corkscrew. A lot of drivers had to avoid. So let's go and jump back here into this battle that we've got between Justin Huffman and Wan Chi Lee in the number 30 machine. And wow, the hits or the spins, they just keep coming. goes around at the Andretti hairpin one more time. Let's take a look here. And I'm telling you, our producer, Dennis Branch, back behind the scenes, I'm pretty sure he's just showing us the same replay over and over again. No, that one looked very different as Horan tried to correct as the rear end stepped out on him, but he's obviously got a very damaged car. All right, so let's jump back to our leader with 6 minutes complete in this 20-minute race. And, you know, we were looking for that battle that we had pop up last week at the Glen, and it's just not materializing here as Jamison Huffman now with almost a 4-second advantage over our second place runner John Vogel in the number 4 machine.
Yeah, Greg, looks like a lot of mistakes early on, guys just not being able to get the cars underneath them early in this race. So, but drop back a little, Wansi Lee and Lynn and Justin Huffman, again, those two starting to reel in John Vogel ever so slightly. It looks like the battle is definitely going to be for that second and third, as now Lynn goes just a little bit wide. He was able to pull around Justin Huffman.
Exactly,
so give Lynn third place, and he is starting to reel in John Vogel a lot quicker than it was when Justin Huffman was leading.
Yeah, matter of fact, that last time by, not much of a difference. Wanchi Lin about 1/10 of a second faster than John Vogel on that last lap, but closing things down nonetheless as they come through turn 4, make their way over to turn 5, and start to make that long run up the hill that concludes at the concludes at the corkscrew. But of course, they've got turn 6 coming up next, and I'll tell you, this section of the track right here, Brian, you know, when you're not looking at the track surface itself, but you can see out into the valley, they're absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous land there at WeatherTech Raceway as Wanchi Lin continues to close things down. Now only about half a second back as they come into the corkscrew, and he seems to have a much better hold of the car there as they come out of the corkscrew, come through the rainy curve. You could see where Vogel was having to do a lot of correction coming out of the corkscrew, maybe even getting a little defensive coming through the rainy curve. And now Wanchi Lin, he's right on the gearbox of our second place runner John Vogel as they go through the final corner, turn 11 onto the front straight. They're going to complete lap number 6, and we may see a new second place runner here by the time we get down to the Andretti hairpin.
Yeah, I tell you what, Lynn is just ever so slightly that much faster, almost basically a full second faster. As now they go into the Andretti hairpin and give a new second place lead, a new second place car to Wanchi Lin there. He does look a lot racier. That car has really started to come in here. Even though we're about 8.5 minutes into this race, he could have set that car up for a long run, and that car looks really good. As it looks like now we have Wayne Buttermore again with all that damage in the rear end. I guarantee you that car is going to be hard to handle for the rest of this race.
Yeah, it looks like probably on the right-hand turns, they're definitely going to be a challenge for him as we go back now over to the battle for second with Wanchi Lin, our new second place runner. While we were watching Buttermore, he got, well, we saw it before we jumped over to Buttermore. Wanchi Lin having gotten around John Vogel going into the Andretti hairpin the last time. Now let's jump back a little bit further. This is the battle for 6th. We've got the 231 of Beans Forster, and then we've got the number 2 machine of Greg Mack. Now, we saw that battle in the last race between Giancarlo Schooler and Greg Mack go on pretty much for the entire race. It's been very much the same here with the 231 machine and the number 2 machine as they now make their way heading over towards turn 10.
Yeah, I tell you what, Forster and Mack, like you said, we saw that earlier on with Mack and Schooler. Now you're going to see that with Forster and Mack. And Mack's up 3 positions, started out 9th, moved all the way back up into the 6th, though. But he's got a little bit of left side damage there, so that could be that could come into play here as Beans Forster gets a run on him across the start-finish line. They're going to go side by side down into the Andretti hairpin, and it looks like it is going to be Forster's going to have that position as he had the best line going in.
Yeah, and always the challenge there as you come down the inside as he used the draft, who was able to get underneath Greg Mack, is obviously if you can get the braking done. You know, the challenge here at Laguna Seca is that, again, not a high grip surface, very easy to lock up those front wheels but we see that he gets this done. All right, so let's jump back over to the battle for second, or what is shaping up, at least for the moment now, to be the battle for third, as John Vogel, he's dropped back just a little bit from Wanshi Lin. He's now almost a second and a half back from Lin. And you can see now Justin Huffman in the 223 machine. He's all over the back of that number four entry. Huffman trying to get up onto the podium with his son. Had some issues last week at Watkins Glen in that car, but good run so far, as we see Vogel using every inch of the pavement and almost every inch of the dirt as well there, Brian.
Well, he ain't trying to get all of it. He paid for that racetrack. He's going to use it all, whether
right.
it's there or not. Now, John Vogel, again, that car looks like it may have a little bit of a handling issue right now, dropping back. Now he's just got to kind of collect it underneath him. Let's drop back here just a little bit for that Beans Forrester and then Greg Mack. Forrester now is ahead of Mack, as we talked about on the last lap by, as they went down through the Andretti hairpin. He had the preferred line going in, but Mack not going away. Mack able to just stay right there with them as they start to come through here. And then you've got Morgan Burkhardt, I believe, is just shortly behind them two.
I was just going to say, after his early race spin from the front of the pack, he is starting to close things down on both Forster and Greg Mack. And that last time by, Burkhardt with a 1:35.68, he was a full 2 seconds faster than Forster and Greg Mack. So he's closing, and he's closing quickly here. As you can see, as they come into turn 6, carrying a lot more, probably turn 5, carrying a lot more speed through that corner.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting when he gets up to the corkscrew, because you're right. That's 2 seconds faster than those two, almost just as fast as what Jamison Huffman is doing, as the leader. So it looks like that car has now gotten back together after his spin, as we talked about earlier on, as he comes back on the backside of Greg Mack coming down through the corkscrew, right on the gearbox right there. I think Greg Mack probably will let him go by as he sees that he is probably a little bit faster as they start to come down through the rainy curve there. As they come through turn 10, we'll see whether or not he's going to be able to give up that spot, or is he going to make Morgan earn that spot.
From the looks of it right now, he's definitely going to make him work for it, and Burkhardt's going to have to try and get a good run here out of turn 11, which he does, and he's going to have to, he'll use Greg Mack for the draft a little bit, let Mack pull him down, and now he makes the move to the inside, and Mack doesn't contest it at all, doesn't squeeze him at all, and looks like Burkhardt, again, if he can get the braking done, he's going to pick up the position. So Morgan Burkhardt now move him back up into 7th. Next in line is Beans Forster in that number 231 machine. Looks like Brennan Horan having some issues over at the corkscrew in the number 45 machine. He takes that Team Esport Racer machine for an unexpected ride, but gets the thing back together. He is currently sitting in 11th. Certainly not the race he was hoping for today.
Yeah, I tell you what, you talked about Greg Mack early on. It looks like we've got 528 there again of Paul Slavonic, again having a little bit more issues coming down through the corkscrew. But as you talk about Greg Mack, that left side up in the air like that, that's going to really hurt him coming out of turn 11, heading down towards the start-finish line for that straight line speed. As we drop back, coming back through the corkscrew one more time, John Vogel, Justin Huffman still battling out for that last podium spot with about coming up on about 15 minutes. So Huffman's going to have to start working on Vogel ever so slightly if he wants to get by him and earn that last podium spot up there with his son.
Yeah, and you can see now that Wanshi Lin in the number 30 machine, he has really opened up a huge gap back to Vogel and Huffman. Separation between those two cars now about 4 seconds from second back to third place as they crest over the hill and make their way down towards turn 2, down to the Andretti hairpin. And there you go. Look at that as Huffman tries to make a very, very late lunge going down into Andretti, trying to sneak underneath Vogel. Nowhere close enough to get it done. All right, so let's take a look here now, as this is a bit of a surprise that in just the last lap, both Beans Forrester and also Morgan Burkhardt, they have made up almost a second and a half on Jordy Fike in the 09 machine. So what appeared to be for a moment to what was going to be a battle for 6th between Forster and Burkhardt is now actually a 3-car battle for 5th. as you can see here, Jordy Fike getting very, very defensive going into turn 5. They're going to be 3 wide, Brian, heading up the hill, going towards turn 6.
This is not going to work 3 wide. That is not a position you want to be third, 6.
Oh,
and just as we said, Fike goes inside, hits the curbing, and takes out Beans Forrester, and it looks like he may have taken out
yeah, he got Burkhardt as well. Yeah,
Yep.
It was a 3-car pinball match, and just as you said, that's not going to work. It didn't work. All right, so that's going to drop them considerably back, and I see Burkhardt back in the pits right now here. Let's take a look at the replay here as they start to make their run up the hill towards turn 6. No longer 3 wide, 2 wide, but you got it. Jordy Fike, he hits the sausage curbing at the apex of turn 6. Now there's a little dip in the pavement there right before the apex, and you actually don't want to go a little bit to the left because you kind of hit the sausage curbing and you bounce over, and there you go. Jordy Fike with the 710 split, or I guess it was actually the 231 40 split actually there. All right, let's jump back over to this battle for a second, Brian.
I tell you what, it is still, this is actually a battle for third. This will be John Vogel and the 223 Justin Huffman there. They've been going at it now for the last several minutes. Huffman just not going away. Vogel has ever so slightly been able to get off the corners just a little bit better than Justin Huffman. You talked about it early on. Somebody has a little bit of knowledge and experience at this racetrack. John Vogel's got that Spec Racer Ford. He's got it coming off the corners, and we talked about it earlier. That's really what you need here on a tight racetrack like this. You've got to be able to get up and off the corners. As now it looks like Huffman goes just a little bit wide there, in the dirt, just coming up out of Rahal Straight, heading down into the corkscrew. Able to close in just a little bit, but I think Vogel's going to have the better of it coming out of here in that preferred line.
All right, so we've got about 2.5 minutes remaining here in this race here at WeatherTech Laguna Seca. And, you know, it was interesting. Oh, here we go. Look at this. Vogel, he goes wide coming out of turn 10. And can Justin Huffman take advantage of it? Doesn't look like he can. You know, I was going to note that the last time they went into the corkscrew, as Huffman went into the dirt, he was basically mirroring exactly what Vogel did ahead of him. Vogel made a little juke to the left, and Huffman did as well. But now, coming down into Andretti, Huffman much closer to Vogel than he's been, I think, the last 3 laps, but still not quite close enough to try and sneak that car underneath as Vogel now, Brian, and you can see it. I think everybody can see it. He's definitely driving his mirrors.
Yeah, I was going to say he's definitely looking in the mirrors to see whether or not where Justin Huffman's going to go, and he's getting on the brakes. And I think Justin Huffman sat back just a little bit there for the longest time, being able to take care of the equipment with the tires and the brakes. And I think now he's starting to get John Vogel to start making some mistakes. But as they come through here, Vogel starts to pull away. So there was a little bit of mistake on that last turn going through turns 5 as they come up Rahal Straight from Justin Huffman. So Vogel starting to pull away.
All right, as they make their way up to the corkscrew, we've got just a little bit over a minute remaining on the clock. I would suspect that our leader, Jamison Huffman, most likely coming through turn 10 right about now. Hey, gosh, I'm like Karnak. There he is, coming through turn 10, making his way over to 11. He's going to cross the stripe before the checkered flag comes out. But so when he does, he is going to take the white flag for 1 lap to go here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. We can see Wan Chi Lin currently running second in that number 30 machine, just coming around the corner onto the front straight. And then a little bit further back, there is that battle for third. Let's jump back over to it. Thank you, Mr. Branch. There we go. It is Vogel now with maybe the biggest lead he's had on Huffman coming across the stripe in the last 4 laps. Huffman falling a little bit off the pace. He's going to try and come underneath him, but again, so far back, and it looks like he pushes wide going into the hairpin, and that gives a little bit more breathing room to the number 4 car, to John Vogel.
Yeah, it looks like he took a bad line going into that Andretti hairpin in that turn 1 there, so that's really going to open it up for Vogel. Now Vogel just has to keep it on the asphalt, and it looks like he may end up getting this last podium spot third, because he's starting to open up over Justin Huffman by about a second.
Yeah, here we go as they make their way into turn number 5, start to head up the hill. Vogel now with almost a full second advantage. Make it about three and a half car lengths as they come into turn 6. There's that sausage curb that Jordy Fike popped over there in bright red. As we jump back now to our leader, Justin's son, Jameson, coming through the rainy curve, going into turn 10. Only one more corner to go here at WeatherTech Raceway to see if Jameson Huffman can take his second win in a row on the Ray Esports Racing League. He comes out of the final corner, moves over to the pit wall to have all of his crew give that acknowledgement there. I don't see their crew, but there they go. And Jameson Huffman, he takes the win. Wan Chi Lin in the number 30 machine, he is going to finish in second. And John Vogel in that number 4 machine, he crosses the stripe. He is going to finish in third. It looked like Justin Huffman might have had some issues in the final corner there. He's going to finish a long way back, just off the podium in fourth. Greg Mack crosses the line, well, we're waiting for him to cross the line. There he goes. Greg Mack crosses the line now in fifth. He manages to hold off Beans Forster. Both he and Forster got around Jordy Fike, so Forster will finish 6th. Jordy Fike in the 09 car crossing the stripe. He will finish in 7th. There, you can't see the number anymore on the front of that car, but there you go. There's the 221 of Charles Vaccaro. He is going to finish in 8th place. Good run for Vaccaro, picked up 4 positions. Brennan Horn in the 45. He should cross the stripe in 9th, and if all goes according to plan and he can keep the car on the track, Wayne Buttermore should bring things home in 10th. All right, so there you go. Great run here in our second race of the evening, the Spec Racer Ford race, brought to you by Alliance Autosport. There's Wayne Buttermore in the number 73 machine. And yeah, he's going to cross the stripe in 10th. I believe that Brennan Horn just ahead of him, finishing in 9th in that 45 machine. Neither one of those cars looks very pretty right now. There you go. And coming back around for his victory lap, it's Jameson Huffman. He's going to park that car right at the start-finish line. There you go. And so hopefully we'll have Mr. Huffman here popping in, and we'll be able to bring him in for an interview here in just a moment. But a good race. You know, the first few laps, the first 2 or 3 laps there, Brian, great battle. And you know, obviously, oh, don't hit the wall. Good job, Jameson. You know, good battle there. Obviously, we had Morgan Burkhardt drop out of the fight. And you know, I think the big surprise there, Wan Chi Lin picking up 4 spots to finish second here today. Great race from the newcomer. So there we go. And so it looks like we've got Jameson Huffman now, our winner, sitting in the green room. Brian, let me bring him on in.
Jameson Huffman, congratulations on that win. It looks like everybody else started to drop out and make a little bit of mistakes. You just went on that Sunday drive.
I can tell you that was not a Sunday drive at all. I was fighting the car the whole way through. It felt like the old Surf that we had in iRacing, but with extra power, so we had to brake even more.
So now, is that from the setup that you went in there with, or did you go in there with a basic setup?
I was hopping around different setups. Like, I tried 50 different setups. I have a bunch saved. And I was trying ones from Road America to Sonoma to Road Atlanta as well. Just trying everything that I had. Some of them felt better. I think the best one was for sure the Majors one that I got. The new setups that we're trying to use. So it's definitely nice.
Well, definitely congratulations. You definitely had the field covered with whatever setup was that you have. Who'd you like to thank tonight?
I'd like to thank my parents for letting me race, my team for helping me through this, and Major's Garage for their setups. They are amazing. I really like them. They're nice and stable. They survive pretty well.
There you
go.
Well,
there you go. That was, there you go. Thanks, Jameson. Appreciate it. And congratulations on your second race out of 2 in Spec Racer Ford here on the Ray Esports Racing League. Congratulations. All right. Tell you what, Brian, looks like we've got John Vogel sitting in the green room. Let's bring in our third place finisher tonight in the number 4 machine.
John Vogel, congratulations. Finished last podium spot. What a battle between you and Justin Huffman. Talk about that race and talk about that battle there at the end.
It looks like John is muted, so hopefully we can get him unmuted and
Hey guys.
there he is. There's
There he
John
is.
Vogel.
And like a dummy, I had the replay playing too because it's so good. I don't know if that's dumb or smart. It might be smart. So yeah, the battle was intense. Justin was just strong, and I hate it when like every time you make a small mistake, you just pay dearly for it, and then you got to be super tidy the next few corners, otherwise you get passed. So I was able to kind of clean up after my mistakes and barely held on to the position.
Well, you definitely were able to hold on there and pick up that last podium spot. Who you like to thank tonight?
Carrier Air Conditioning for sponsoring us, even though they're not on the car. I'll fix that next week. And my wife, Lisa, for putting up with me coming down to the garage and doing this all the time. And both of my boys, we've been racing together. So those guys too. So that's it. And you guys, great show.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, there you go. That is John Vogel, driver of the number 4 machine, finishing third tonight here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. So thanks so much to John, and also, hopefully next time he's on the podium, we'll be able to get Wan Chi Lin in here and talk to our second place finisher. But that will wrap things up, Brian, from WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Again, want to thank our great sponsors of the series, both Alliance Autosports, who just brought you that Spec Racer Ford race, also RaceVoice. You can find out more about Alliance by going to allianceautosport.com. RaceVoice, who will be back with us next week when the Formula V's race. You can find out more about them by going to racevoice.com. And next week, we're going to be going to another tight handling course, one where the hands are always moving. Brian, it's a track that we know very well, very similar to the Shenandoah circuit right out of Washington, D.C. It's going to be great to see the Formula V's and the Mazda MX-5s there here on Apex Racing TV. That, of course, is going to be next Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And, again, quick reminder, if you liked what you saw here tonight, please give us that thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe to Apex Racing TV and click on that notification bell to find out about all of the great virtual motorsports events that Apex Racing TV broadcasts seemingly around the clock from across the globe, whether it be North America, whether it be Europe, whether it be Australia. You'll find it, and I believe South Africa as well. Just events all over the world, and you can find out more about the schedule by subscribing to our social media channels. Apex Racing TV, all one word. Look for it on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook. And so for Brian Donati, for Dennis Branch sitting back behind the scenes giving us all those great views tonight, I'm Greg Ginsburg, and we'll see you next Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, from Barber Motorsports Park.